You're live. You're live. Okay, maybe I'm live. Hello. Okay, so I already did a video the other day that hardly anybody has watched, but since I already did a Grant Stone Field boot video, I don't know if it matters that much. If you're interested in that, you're interested in that. If you're interested in this, you'll watch this. Maybe you'll watch both. After you see this, you'll be all inspired to go back. Who knows? I was doing research, and by research I mean watching other people's boot videos and trying to narrow down which brands might, suit me and things. And of course, there's the endless debate that I don't typically bring up much with the Grant Stone or the other boots as much as some of the other, they're made in China. Well, unfortunately, the other brands, some of which might interest me or you, I'm looking at the wrong list here, possible future reviews of some of these, little housekeeping here. One group I looked into is Allen Edmonds. I did order a pair of boots from them, but after ordering Grant Stone boots, I think I ordered the wrong size because I sized down when I probably didn't need to size down. So I might do a video of those next week if they show up, and then I'll probably send them right back. Another one was Beckett Simonon, which people have been largely comparing to the Thursday boot, which we'll be talking about. Special guest today, Thursday boot, and honorable mention to Oliver Cabell, both of which I have reviewed before. So if you didn't watch my Oliver Cabell Captain video, because like only 38 people have watched it or something, so I know you haven't watched it. I did do a video about those two way back when. I think that was my first boot video. But this is the President model. We'll be talking about this in comparison to this. Again, full disclosure, this is not sponsored, but it is also a fake unboxing because I did already open the boxes and try on a couple of the boots just to have something to talk about besides holding boots up in front of the camera. Okay, so Beckett Simonon. Didn't see anything in them that wasn't kind of redundant. I was trying to get boots that weren't necessarily all the exact same boots, and their boots cost a little bit more, but I might get a pair of their Chukka boots, which, okay, for those of you who don't know, this is a service boot. It's got has a slightly taller height there instead of kind of more of a cropped top, and it has dedicated amount of eyelets, usually, 5 or 7 or whatever, whereas a Chukka boot might only have 2 or 3. Yada, yada, yada. Chukka boots can have a different outsole, more of a gummy outsole. This is a street outsole. Some of the brands that we will be talking about will offer a leather one instead of a rubber one. Yada, yada, yada. So, we'll get into that. Okay. Anyway, so Beckett Simonon, they have a leather that is similar to this, which is a pull-up leather, which is a not a shiny Chrome XL, okay, whereas the one I was just showing the Thursday is a Chrome XL, which is the same as most of the Grant Stone leathers, okay? Not all, but the ones that I ordered. Okay, so we have, and I don't have room in the title to put all the necessary things like Chrome XL and everything because it just doesn't ever fit. And so hopefully many of you who see the exact same thumbnail using the same box will notice the slightly different letters from the previous video where I used the same photo. Okay, and didn't show a picture of boots, which might throw people off entirely because they don't know that Grant Stone means boots. Don't know. Again, I assume if you found your way here, you were looking for Grant Stone boots, and that's not going to be a problem. Okay, so Beckett Simonon, maybe I'm going to get some Chukka boots from them. Thursday Chukka boots are cheaper, but I don't like the leathers as much, and their sizing is really hard to nail down. Beckett Simonon, I don't know anything about them except that they had MTO Blake Stitch boots for about $260. So they're definitely less expensive than Grant Stone boots. In the same price range as the Grant Stone boots. Oh, and sorry, to backtrack, Allen Edmonds is more expensive typically than Grant Stone, but they do have a lot of sale prices, which is why I bought those other boots that aren't going to fit that you can see next week. Most of their boots are around $500. Grant Stone boots closer to 400, so a little bit of less. These I got on sale, same as the field boots, or one pair of these I got on sale. The other pair I got at full price. We'll get into that. Okay. So another company was called Parkhurst. Pretty much didn't seem to have anything in my size. Pricing comparable. Then there's Viberg, which I had mentioned in a previous video, and I said I was going to check out Viberg. But in that video, I meant that I was going to check out Viberg work boots, but then they also have this line of more heritage boots that are like $700 or something. They're way expensive, and I'd have to pay Canadian import fees or something. So that's not likely to happen. And they didn't have anything in my size anyway. I think it said size down, but Parkhurst said size down, and they were less money than Grant Stone, I think. Viberg said true to size, I think, but they were way more money. I forget. Anyway, what else did I have on here? There was another brand I thought. So yeah, trying to keep all these brands straight, but it gets narrowed down really quick. So even if you are, I only want to buy made in USA boots. If you have smaller feet like mine, you're not buying any of them. You're getting Grant Stone. Okay. Or maybe Beckett Simonon, maybe. Or Thursday, again, if you can dial in the right size. The thing I wanted to say about these before I talk about those. Sorry, just trying to read. If I forgot a brand, I forgot a brand, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're doing Grant Stone today. I had been wearing these a lot in October, like almost daily, kind of mixing these with a different pair to do like a wear test. And then I started getting the Pacific Northwest boots and other boots and things and kind of threw that to the wind. So that didn't end up happening. I put these on again the other night after getting those, though, and then all of a sudden they didn't feel like my daily boots anymore. They felt foreign. They felt kind of big and sloppy. It's kind of weird how that worked out because I've been wearing those Golden Fox ones with the more squishy footbed and things, and wearing a different kind of pair of boots every day. Like I've been trying 4 different pairs of boots and kind of going through each day. So now when I put these on, they don't like instantly feel like, oh yeah, those are my boots. So that was kind of odd. But then when I tried on the Grant Stone, which one do we want to do first? We're going to do the diesel first. When I put on the diesel one, it felt way snug. Okay. Like comparatively, I don't know if I want to try and send them back and get a half size or a wider size, which would add a little bit of width and length. I think if I went a half size up, I'd be worried they'd be too big. So I'm kind of in that same position I was when I was buying 2 or 3 pairs of Thursday boots just to return 2 or 3 pairs of Thursday boots. So I don't know. So anyway, on with the show. So Grant Stone, for those of you who haven't seen other Grant Stone videos, they come with this try-on carpet thing, they call it. You're supposed to put this on the floor and step on them when you try on the boots so you don't mess up the outsoles. I don't usually bother with that because I have a rug or carpeting. So they get a thank you card. If you have any questions or comments, please send us a mail. Somebody needs to work on that grammar. We want to hear from you. Well, they haven't heard from me. I just gave them money. So we'll see how it goes in the future. And then this same card as before. So again, this is not all the leathers that they offer, but here's a couple different colors. They're showing black and what looks like maybe an OXBLOOD, and then a British tan, and then some kind of creamy. Like, to me, this is a sick color for boots. I don't mean sick in the good way. I mean, like, why would you want anything that pale? Whereas this is very nice. I might look into something like that. And this is very similar to those Allen Edmonds color, but I don't know if the Allen Edmonds color will be the exact same tannery. Typically not necessarily a color of leather you would think I would like, and I wouldn't like it in all applications, but I do have a lot of kind of tweed trousers and things that match that shade. Okay, so in the little goodie bag, we get the extra laces again, except this time I don't know if I get 2 pairs of laces, and they give you a little shoehorn with a bottle opener, although I don't know how you're supposed to use this length of a shoehorn with a boot, much less a dress boot, because this is all sharp, and I don't know how you get this in and out. I haven't tried it. I don't usually need shoehorns with boots, but one day, who knows, we'll see. And they give you this extra piece of foam that, if you know some kids who do crafts, maybe they would use this for their Star Wars figures or something. I don't know. Okay, so getting to the actual boots, I think that's all the goodies in the bag. So they come in these boot bags, which might make great laundry bags or something. I don't know what exactly to do with them, but I do keep the boots in them typically if I can. Okay, so here's the boot. So like I said, holding it up next to the Thursday boot, we can see that I'm pretty sure it's like the exact same Chrome Excel leather or very similar Chrome Excel leather. We can see, I know in the thumbnail I said this was versus the Edwards boot, and I'm doing this first. Live with it. So there's a little seam up the back. There's a seam across the back. This has less seams. This has less of that bright contrast. A similar outsole, but this is a Grant Stone outsole, which is slightly different than a Thursday outsole and a day-night outsole. For those of you who don't know what a day-night outsole is, they both have a stitch channel around the outside, which is not the welt, I guess, or whatever. They both have a lining. This particular Thursday has a darker lining, whereas the Grant Stone and the Oliver Cabell have pretty much the same color lining, so it's probably the exact same leather there too. Don't know. The Grant Stone, they put in the leather laces for some reason and the big eyelet hooks, whereas the Thursday has less hooks and smaller hooks and regular laces. And again, I would possibly remove these and replace them with eyelets down the line eventually. Same with this. These being bigger, hopefully they can accommodate this leather without breaking it or chopping it up or whatever. Here you've got a little bit more robust, a little bit more robust stitching. You can really kind of get in there and see, okay, yeah, that's good. And a little bit of detailing across the top. This you have much finer looking stitching. Same idea, but less noticeable detail, I guess would be the way to kind of say that. I can put them side to side. You can see the Grant Stone is not as tall, which is, it's a little bit of an optical illusion because I don't have them lined up exactly right, but not quite as tall, not too short, but a little short, but not as short compared to, again, these run ginormous. Okay, so there. So again, this, for those of you who aren't the elite 38 people or whatever who watch the other video, this does cut into the leg maybe a little bit, and I've heard that this can too, but which will be worse, I don't know, because I wore these for a pretty good amount of a month last year when I was still wearing thick socks and whatever, and then had to totally retire them because the weather got hot and I didn't care. And I had those chukka boots anyway. These, on the other hand, we'll see how they do up here. Like I said, I heard this takes a minute to break in, and they can really kind of pinch and cut into you up in here. But you can always leave the top eyelets unhooked and just tie it one lower. I typically prefer taller shaft boots for partly that reason, but service boots almost all come in this 5.5, 6 height. So that's kind of where you're stuck. Again, same as I couldn't even buy some of those other brands that mostly offered probably a 6 anyway, not an 8. So there's life. So you have this kind of welt deal going on here. And we'll do both boots in a minute. So now we're finally looking at the Grant Stone boot. So you can see there's a lot more kind of going on here than the front of the Thursday boot. Now, the Thursday boot is literally $200. The Grant Stone boot is literally twice that much. Is this boot worth twice this boot? Don't know. I guess some other people can make that argument. I'm not sure I'm ready to make that leap, but I bought them anyway because we have a boot channel. I know from the field boots, there's a squishy heel, and then there's kind of see, you can kind of see that half liner kind of ends. So the squishy will most likely end. Yeah, pretty much there. That's kind of nice though, because I was wearing the Truman boots this week, and they don't have any cushion whatsoever in the heel. I don't even know if they have a cork in them. It felt like I was kind of walking on the nails a little bit more than I kind of anticipated. Here's a nice feature where you don't have rivets that are going to shred the tongue. Also another Truman boot issue where, again, we don't have that problem here. But we do have that problem with the Oliver Cabell. So that's what we're talking about when I'm complaining constantly that kind of thing is really going to mess up your leather, and you'll need to maybe replace your tongue. This tongue's a bit stiff anyway. I don't know. It's the same exact leather as here, but it's not as malleable for some reason. So that tongue is not as, whereas the Thursday leather is also pretty stiff, but I haven't had the same issue with this cutting me. The Captain boot did a little bit. I don't think the President boot ever did. But again, let's look at the toes, and you can see that this one looks a little wider, and this one looks a little longer. But overall, this one feels, like I said, bigger. This one feels more snug, and maybe it's just because I only wore them for 30 seconds to, again, have something to talk about and complain about, because the whole point of these videos is to complain about whether or not I got my money's worth. And therefore, you can determine whether or not you think you will get your money's worth. Otherwise, there's no reason to do boot videos. Okay. So, so yeah, you got, the vamp and the uppers and the lowers and the blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's, again, a service boot, but I'm pointing out the features again because we're going to get into the Edward boot as soon as we look at the right one instead of just the left one. Okay. And really, the only reason to do this is for what, quality control purposes, because I assume the right boot and the left boot will look kind of the same. And if pieces of the bag would stop falling on my keyboard. Right. Okay. So, so we can see a little bit of texture or whatever here. I don't assume these were tried on by somebody else before, but you never know. But that just looks like regular kind of texturing. I didn't really look that close at the other one. Again, we're just kind of doing a cursory examination here to make sure it looks like a boot. This looks a little bit crooked, but not the end of the world. That's just from the lasting process where they've pulled one side a little more than the other side. But again, this one was not on sale. These were full price. And we don't have a pull tab, which a boot this short, you don't really need a pull tab. As I said in the Thursday Hero video, I think that came with a pull tab that I'm going to take scissors and remove. So, and it's not even leather. They put a nylon thing on there for some reason. Don't know. Okay, so can you see down there? Yeah, it's Grant Stone, and it looks like a boot, and it's got glove lining. And I had wondered before if the glove lining is meant to be smooth or if it sometimes is crinkled, if that's a bad thing. These are smooth, but I guess the crinkling can be normal, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Where are we? We're at 20 minutes already. Okay, 20 minutes. We're finally starting on boot number 2. But again, I'd rather do this all now than do 2 separate videos, and That's life. Okay, so same exact card. Don't need to read that again. Same exact card. I will read it this time. We believe in the fundamentals of boot making, prioritizing fit and using proper proven components. Initial fit: place your shoe boot on carpet or shoe bag, which again was this carpet thing, I believe. After lacing, look for the widest part of your foot to settle in the widest area of the shoe. Extra room in front of the toes is expected. Now, again, I don't know how much extra room I had in the toes of these, but I'm pretty sure I have less in the toes of these. We'll get to that. Footwear that shows signs of wear cannot be exchanged or refunded. Goes without saying. So it's kind of hard to try them on and know how they fit and feel before you have to return them to get a different size or whatever. You almost want to buy 2 sizes automatically. I know if you don't have a lot of room on your credit card or whatever, that's kind of a struggle, but there's almost no other way to do this stuff mail order. You know, it's not like what, you know, when you go to Foot Locker and they have 30 sizes and you have your chance to really go into all that. So I don't know what, you know, what other solution I have, but this pair, the Edward, now these were on sale. So these were $100 less, same goodie bag. So I definitely thought these were worth the value, regardless of the maybe poorer fit, because I plan to use these less as more of a, you know, a daily boot and more of like a special occasion boot. Now here we have black laces instead, and here we have the doodle doot again, and here we have the foam fun thing, and once again the branded bag. Okay, now these I already know because when I bought them I had already watched videos, so I knew. I was kind of wanting to get this color in this style of boot with the extra panels and things, but then these were cheaper and also technically dressier. So what we're getting here is similar Chrome XL, but in a little bit more red of a shade than a brown, a true brown. Okay, yeah, that's better. You can't see it when I'm holding one boot by itself, but then when I put them next to each other, it jumps right up. Why? Okay, because this I consider an autumn color. So when autumn comes, I have lots of brown stuff and tan stuff and, you know, stuff that goes with this kind of color. But then when the holidays come, brown doesn't look right, and I don't necessarily want to wear black with everything. So burgundy, which I also have a lot of burgundy kind of stuff that I can wear for autumn, transitions well into holiday stuff because now this is a subtle red that can go with a subtle green, and it's festive. Yay! Okay, so that's a bonus. Again, with the 3 speed hooks that I hate, that I would hope in a dressier boot they would have eliminated these and put more eyes, or all eyes, but that didn't happen. So we still got the same sole. I didn't get any leather soles this time, only rubber soles, and that's a little easier for me to compensate in my brain that they're more all-purpose, right? Not that you would take this boot hiking, so you don't, you know, have lugs here. But if it's at all wet outside, leather is just your enemy. And so, yeah, so there's really not a lot to kind of look at because all that other stitching is gone here. You don't have that crease here. You don't have any quarter panel here, or whatever you call it. You just have the vamp. I assume this is the vamp. I don't know. You just have that going there. You have the same color glove leather. You have the same half pad with the squishy cushion. But again, now if you look at these toes, though, if it stops being blurry, a lot more narrow. Maybe not a lot shorter, about the same length, but definitely less toe room. Okay. There we go. Nice and clean, nice and sharp. Yes. So this boot fits even more snug than this boot. You might have to wear this with a dress sock instead of a any kind of boot sock or athletic sock. And this one, I would say you might not even be able to wear with a boot sock until you've broken them in a bit. So that's the Edward. And again, we'll look at the other one just because if we're going to do this for 25 minutes, I guess we might as well do this for 30 minutes. I won't have to do any more boot videos today anyway. And so, yeah, we got the other guy, the matching left foot with the extra pair of black laces. I suppose you could mix up the laces slightly, but then you still have all this black here because you don't have any of that tan contrast in the heel or anything. But again, this being a dressier boot, I guess this is meant to be cleaner, although I would have not minded a little contrast here. In fact, if I had a leather sole on this, I would almost expect it. And I think it would look classier, more overall. Again, because here, even the Thursday boot, you still have a little bit of that brown in the heel stack for a $200 boot. Whereas here for a $400 boot that only cost me $300, it's just nothing extraordinary. But you know, they are, more refined again than the Thursday boot. So for a dressy, because this is supposed to be a Thursday dressy boot, and for a dressy boot, you do have quite a bit of noticeable, if not contrast stitching, whereas this one you just have one stitch. And so it's meant to be very clean and organized and clutter-free and a lot of, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, any questions or comments? I don't know what else I can really add or amend to that.